Okay, determining my box dimensions is fairly easy this way. You know, it's I'm going to go 9 1/4, which gives me about 1/8 of an inch a wiggle room, and then this direction is 7 1/2, and then getting the height. It's just a matter of bringing something in to give you a reference plane. Set your square down, bring that up to the back of it, and measure that distance, which for me is going to be 5 3/4, which is allowing for the saw kerf when I cut the top off of the box. I'm going to build a cube basically, and then I'm going to cut it off. And that 1/8 of an inch plus, it's actually 3/16. It's 5 3/4 is, yeah, that's a solid 3/16 of an inch from that point there to 5 3/4, or that plane I should say, to my mark. So that's what I'm going to use, 5 3/4 by 9 1/4. Right? Yeah, 9 1/4, and then this direction is 7 1/2. So those are that's my inside dimensions. Now I have to take that information and build the box around that. Now this box that I'm going to build, I've got the 3 drawings here that I need to make. I think this is the top and bottom. This is the sides. This is the front and back. This one is to full scale. So yeah, that's front and back. And when I drew this up on my software, I used 1/2 inch, but it's 12 millimeter plywood, so it's 0.475, so it's 25 thousandths less than half, which means the inside dimensions will be a bit larger than what I had planned on. All it does is give me a little bit more wiggle room than what I had planned for, so things should still fit nicely inside. So let me cut these pieces, and then we'll get back to and see how it all goes together. All right, my first dry fit. It looks pretty good. I do have one concern, or one thing that has happened here, that because I'm working with less than 1/2 inch plywood, I end up with this little gap here, and that'll be just like that all the way across. So I'll have to fill that with some glue and sawdust, but it'll look uniform, I hope. So when I put it together, I'll keep it tight I'll keep it tight to this corner on both sides, and then when I put the top on, I'll make sure that this part of the box is where I want it to be. But so far so good. I've got some room in there that you can see, but that's okay. Oh yeah, one last thing here. Old router bit, I've got lots of blowout. A new router bit. Now this probably could have been avoided had I used a marking gauge to describe these lines. I wasn't thinking that far ahead. I guess I was in too big a hurry. But there's a little bit of repair that needs to be done there as well once I get it glued together. I've got it on this piece. Yeah, and a little bit on this one. Glued up rather nicely. Now the one thing I'm not doing is clamping it in this direction, because that would close this gap and take these out of flat basically, and maybe out of square. Not that the cube would get out of square. I'm not sure about that, but as long as I have a uniform gap here, that's something that I can work with and fill down the road after this sets up for a good hour or so. I had good squeeze out here, so I know that there's squeeze out on the inside as well. There'll be some cleanup that'll need to be done there. But now we just have to sit and wait. All right, it's been a couple hours. I'm gonna take these clamps off and see how things look here. I think that glue on the inside, because of the lack of air movement in there, I think that that's going to be still a little runny. We'll find out here when I make that cut. So this is going to be my top. It looks like I've got a little cleanup to do here before I get ready to cut that lid off. So I'll clean things up, sand it here, level these off, and then I'll come back when I get ready to remove the top. The best I can figure out, the lid is going to be 1.25 inches high, and that will allow this to close without any interference, I hope. But the only way to find out is to take it off. So I'm gonna keep the lid on the outfeed side of the blade. I did allow for an 1/8 inch kerf when I did my measurements, but I'm using a thin kerf blade here just to give me that extra amount of material to allow for some sanding, to make sure that I get a nice snug fit all the way around. You know, nice line, I guess I'll put it that way. So I've got to get some wedges, but I'll make this cut and then we'll rotate and finish it up. They're not too bad with the glue inside, I'm surprised. I'll clean that up. Make sure I get this oriented back out the same way. That's not correct. There it is. It's nice. Very nice. It's going to require very little sanding, I believe. Okay, let me clean it up. I've got to order some hardware, but I'm very pleased with the way that fits. That's nice. Okay, I just did a little bit of light sanding. It looks really nice. I'm happy with the way the lid's going to operate here. The one thing I was going to show you is that if I were to take my tri-square and put it tangent to these chips and let that fall down to the top of the box, it tells me that I have about 1/8 of an inch. You can't really see that, I'm sure, but there's about 1/8 of an inch difference between the top and the tangent point of these chips. So I do have a little room to work with there. I think I may contemplate putting those leathers in the boxes. I'm going to do something here that I've never done before. I want to use pins to register the lid, and what I'm going to do is have clasp or flip locks, I guess you'd call them, on four sides, and then a handle on top, so that there'll be no hinge. You'll just lift it up, lift the lid off, and set it back down. But I want it to be going down in the same spot every time. So with the dowels that will locate and register the lid to the base, I'm thinking I will use my Dowel Max and register it here, slide it back and register on the back, and then bring it up to my lid and do the same thing. But the difference is this lid is going this way, and I would have to rely on the fact that this part of the jig has the same clearance on this side. Now it looks awful close. I suppose I could measure that and make sure that it is, but to be sure, I want to register off of here, which is what they have on their jig. They have these check marks, so I know that the body is that the holes are equally spaced. So I made this little jig to go over the side. I'll hold it in place and register the body up against my stop, like so. I'll drill my hole. I'm going to use what I'm going to do is use the second hole from the front, and I'll use the first hole on the back so that I'll know that there is only one way the lid can go on. So let me drill these holes, and then I'll come back and show you the result. Hopefully it'll line up. Alright, let's see how it fits. No glue, by the way. I'm not that confident. But now I am. Beautiful, perfect fit. Love that. Okay, so what I'll do is I'll glue those pins in place in the case, and then the top, which now I need to get off of here. I'll work on that later. I'll pull it off, and I think I'll just put a light sand on those top pins so that it's not a friction fit like it is right now. Over time, I'm sure it would wear out, but I'm very happy with that. So this will allow me to use the case and locate my clasp that are going to mount on four locations to keep this from coming off when I lift it up. And I've also got a handle coming as well. So